And we're talking mainly about Hetford's design patterns. That's the main book that is in review. But we're really talking how should you focus your energy and where should you focus your energy as you're expanding into topics that are not covered yet on the site. I wanted to have a bit of a chat about buzzwords. You're always going to have buzzwords, and it doesn't really matter which one is the buzzword right now. They're always annoying, but they're always going to be there. There's always going to be that hot word, and you're always going to have to kind of know about it, and you're always going to have to go to interviews and have to be part of that, the whole buzz. And you know what, in the end of the day, the buzzes go away and they come back, and it's important to know them. But the most important thing to know is amazing core foundations. So many developers lack in them. And the better your foundations are, the easier it is for you to jump in, learn a quick technology, and come back. But stick your head in the core. Make your foundation biggest as possible. The better your foundation is, the better your work will be. It's really hard to find good ActionScript books. When I started learning ActionScript, I was, ActionScript 1 and then ActionScript 2. There were absolutely no good books out there. There's one amazing book at some point, which was Colin Mock's book of ActionScript 2, which I still think is one of the most brilliant ActionScript books ever written. To really read really foundation and the beauty of code and like the logics and so many books that were written in other languages, and one of the most popular languages in the world is Java. So what are design patterns? And then why should you buy the book if you don't even know what that is? And even if you don't want to buy the book, you hear the word design patterns all the time, and what are design patterns? And the easiest way for me to describe design patterns, because it really is a very abstract term. Design patterns are basically a group of developers or a certain developer. Someone came up with an idea, and that idea was a good idea. Well, it's a good idea for their scenario, but anyways, they came up with an idea, and that idea, they were able to abstract that idea and maybe write a few notes about it, and then try to practice by creating programming styles in that way. Which, that's obviously what I just said now even confused me. So let me just break that down and say it. I came up with a brilliant idea, right? I came up with a brilliant idea that said, well, what if I create a class that could only be created once? That could be really useful. That's a design pattern. Well, unfortunately, there's so many design patterns out there that it's really hard to create your own new design patterns. And if you do create one on your own, you're beyond brilliant, especially if it's a good one and a useful one. But back to the topic, why do you want to know design patterns? Design patterns, forget about the buzz and the words and whatever, and it's easy to learn those terminologies and then impress people, which is, I'm there. After you're past the I'm trying to impress people, should you work always with design patterns? I think absolutely not. It makes you a lazy developer, and if you want to be a lazy developer, then what's the point in learning? I think use design patterns as they're needed. And it's more like reading recipes and then adapting to those recipes and figuring out how will you do it on your own and create your own blueprint. Because programming is an art, especially when you're working in a visual programming world like Flash. If you just follow a book and you follow a template, you'll get paid. The industry needs developers, but you're not going to make a stamp, and you're not going to enjoy it as much, because if you could treat your development as a paintbrush, if you could treat your development style as an art form, you're going to have so much fun. You have no idea how much fun I have when I program. Almost as much as fun as I have as making these videos and getting your feedback and seeing people retweet my tweets, which excite me. I barely know how to work with Twitter because I'm not a big social person, but I'm forcing myself to be out there on the digital world. And I'm just having a blast seeing people react and counting my friends and counting our members. But like always, I'm drifting away. So back to our main topic. You want to keep those hot words. Some hot words never go away. Design patterns are one of those words. 20 years from now, knowing the knowledge in this book is going to still keep you busy, and it's going to still open doors. And a lot of buzzwords, and we're totally going to try to like attack some of the buzzwords and maybe like help by redirecting you to great books about how do you get to the getting to know some of those hot words, because our site is really not focused right now on the hot words. It's focused on boom, the core. And that's why I thought it would be a great place to add the recommendations and hopefully get you guys and gals to buy the books through Amazon through our link so we could get a commission on it also. That would be appreciated. Amazon also has really great prices. So it's a good deal for everyone, hopefully. As you go through your career, you want to make sure that you keep your core very, very strong. And I'm a big believer in that. There's always going to be a buzzword out there, and there's always going to be something that you're behind with. But one thing that you always want to keep, and one thing that you always want to install in your learning process, is you want to make sure that what you learn is a core skill that you could use in the future. If it's Flash, who cares? Like I love Flash, but if tomorrow morning Adobe sells Flash or it doesn't sell Flash and Flash just dies out, who cares? Like obviously I'll be sad because I made my whole career, but so we'll do something else. We'll do Objective-C, we'll do JavaScript, we'll do whatever. I don't really care. But with that said, ignore buzz. You just need to know what it's about. You want to add it to your resume. You want to be able to say that you know what they're talking about. You want to be able to get gigs that are, like if you have a friend that needs to build an application for a certain phone that doesn't work on any other phone, that's fantastic. It's a good skill to have. But don't abandon your core foundations. And your core foundations are architecture. And it's really, really hard to learn real architecture using most client-side languages. When you go and you see all these hardcore JavaScript developers, they're absolutely amazing. I admire them. But then when you go into your average agency and you go to your average any workshop really in New York, that's my hub, you're going to meet a lot of people that are really smart, but they're really wasting their skills on learning stuff that doesn't improve them as developers. They learn buzzwords and they work with a certain framework, and that framework is really their brain. They're just using that framework instead of thinking. And obviously they have to do that because that's how they make their money. And obviously now they're very popular because they're using a buzzword, and everyone loves buzzwords. I love buzzwords.